Welcome back to DAP Build. Today I am finishing off on the underside of the tunnel before I then flip it over and we continue on there. To do so, I do need to, number one, remove that layer of surface rust which has accumulated on here. I could have saved myself this step by actually not leaving the machine to get the surface rust on it, but there we are, done. So that'll be done. Brush over absolutely everything, remove all the loose shrapnel and debris. After that, we're doing a bit of wax and grease removal just to ensure there is no contaminants left on the body itself for the final stage for today in prepping it. So this is actually an epoxy primer. Once again, my voice is going. This will be the third take now, I just keep losing my voice this morning. This is actually an epoxy primer. Couldn't find an etch primer where I'm at. They had no stock at all. Didn't matter what brand it was, and I wasn't going to spend 50 bucks. Not for something that an $18 can do just as well. So this is an epoxy version. It is simply just to ensure I don't have, wow, straight away you smell that. Damn. It is just to ensure I don't continue to get further surface rust and all that sort of thing on the exposed metal. So do that, then we're going to flip it. There is a bit of welding on the underside that's kind of dribbled down, so I do need to deck that first for the floor pans to go on. I don't know if I'll get to start doing the floor pans this round, but I do want to at least butt them up, line them in place and all that sort of thing. I may actually put the wheels back on. I'm still in two minds about that because realistically, to do one step, I need to have these trusses here, so I can't really have them occupied with the chassis. So I might put it back on the ground. To do that, I have to clean this ground. This floor is coated in all the debris from doing the welding and grinding down, so I'll do that. I think I'm going to need more than just this on here though. This is the only problem. I've left this long enough. You know what, I could do it, but it's just going to take me so long, and I didn't bring my power tools. So I'll sort that out, crack on with it, and see where it ends up. Well, that certainly wasn't enjoyable. Weirdly enough, when I actually started doing here, it's just a fine layer. It's bizarre. It's rust, surface rust underneath the paint. So they just kind of brushed it off and laid the paint over the top, because honestly, it's a thin layer. Like through here, all this stuff along here is really quite hardy. Right at the end, it was just flying off. It's just horrible. But it's got a fine layer now, as we can see here. Well, it shows up on camera, but just got a really fine layer of dust and debris now that I have to remove. And then once I've swept all that down, we'll get the wax and grease remover, prep it all down, and then go about putting on the primer. Now I am going to only just spray over the top of this area, just along the bare exposed areas, mainly because again, I'm not going to do the sealer just yet. I don't want it to really ruin when I do the welding on the floor pans. So I'm just going to lay the primer over the top. This probably isn't the correct way of doing it, but At the end of the day too, I'm going to redo this surface again later. So this is simply just to protect the bare metal for now, so it's not exposed and I have to do this all over again. I don't want to do this all over again. This stuff is so tacky as well. I would really like to actually sandblast this now just to make it easier. But it's not cheap to do that, not in Australia anyway. So I don't really know what I'm going to do when I want to have that finalized, when I want to have that all done and sorted, how I'm going to get decent results using hand tools, like even a stripper, a paint stripper or anything like that. Not that kind of stripper. I just don't think it's going to penetrate as much. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one there. Tastes good. Just trying to see whether or not I need, probably should have checked this earlier. Main thing is do not swallow. Might be a hard one. So a bit of time to dry and a new clean cloth. See how much more comes off, because that was with the remover. Not too bad. It's seems to have done its job pretty well. I mean, this stuff is really tacky. Again, this is like a wax-based undercoating as such. So I think it was lifting a lot of that at the same time. Still slightly patchy. But again, for the most part, this is simply to cover the exposed bare metal. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit here and there. I'll just give it a really good thorough wiping over, just to remove all the contaminants, all the wax and grease remover, and then just give it a good coating. I think that's sounding good and loose. So yeah, for this one, nothing really much to it. I've prepped the surface. It's all reasonably clean. Again, this isn't for a final finish. This is simply just to protect the bare metal itself at the moment. After that, I will be stripping everything back and then properly finishing it off. So this should do the job quite well. Now it's 15 to 20 minutes for touch dry, full cure within an hour. So what I'll try and do is more or less do a coat and then set my timer, do another coat after that in an hour's time. I don't think I really need to go more than 2 coats, but I may come back for a third. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just going to use this and then that's it. The only other time I'll need to use this potentially will be around the top section of when I do the floor pans. So with that being the case, that'll probably get it all done. So that shouldn't be too bad. So we'll see how we fare. I haven't done spray painting for a while. It's a little bit weird. Probably not the correct technique, but you know, not an expert. Do point this out often. Okay, I can still see a few bare metal patches here and there. So I may actually do 3 coats just to ensure I cover all the area. Again, just to protect the bare metal, that's all it's for, not a final finish. It looks great over here. That's yeah, that's fantastic. But anyway, the whole aim of the game in this situation is to cover the bare metal so it doesn't rust within this humid shed. And it is getting more humid now because we've had that much rain, and now the sun's starting to shine and the weather's coming around, so yay! Leave that there, set it for an hour, and do another coat or two. So I might have gone a bit overboard, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. At the end of the day, it's just a bit of paint, so be it. Next, we're actually moving on to flipping this thing. Realistically, I'm done on this side. We're all prepped. It's all looking horrible, but it doesn't matter. It's just simply there for a reason. So, yeah, got to clean all this up. And then the fun factor once again of flipping this, which, as you know, I'm a big fan of this part. Moving on. Well, that was definitely one of the easiest flips I've done in this whole venture. And sadly, the very last time I can do it that easily too, because the next time I need to flip it again, the floor pans will be present. So I don't have the ability to just roll it on its axis in the middle of a tunnel. So I have just realized as well, once I've flipped it, that I can't immediately move on to the next stage. There is still a bit of cleanup, annoyingly. Along here, the entire seam does need to be scrubbed back. Unfortunately, again, it was decked but then left, so therefore there is surface rust in there as well. Beyond that, when I've done the welding, a bit of drips here and there because I went over the sides in some instances just for a bit more seaming. So I've got to clean that up as well. Yeah, it's just the little bit of touches up that I want just in order for the floor pans to have a nice, flat, even surface. So that'll be the first thing I tackle. Second thing to that as well is the hole, the lovely hole that was put in the side here. That I will touch up beforehand, just so I don't have any debris and sparks and crud flying over the new floor pans and making even more work for me in the future. So I'll clean that up, and then of course I'll... should I? Just wondering if I should actually primer those areas. Probably not a bad idea. Yeah, I think I will actually. Prime those areas. I might actually look up about that, priming and welding at the same time. But anyway, do that. At least I can prime this area because I'm not going to be welding here again. So I'll do that, and then we get to open these. I'm not overly happy with that. It's just one of those things. At the end of the day, novice, stupid damage, and lack of skill. So I can't really do much about the wave. There is a very slight wave. If you're looking down, I mean, if you're about, so this is probably the height of where I'd be. You can't really tell. And at the end of the day too, it's going to be near the footrest. Actually, it might be further back. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I might actually do a bit more welding along that section just for those slight perforated holes that are going along here, and this kind of divot, which is rather quite extreme. So I might fill all that in, and then, yeah, kind of, I just want that looking a little better. I know it's going to be kind of somewhat concealed and hidden, but if I can achieve that bare tunnel effect like I want, I'm going for it, because honestly that's one of the things I really did want with this car, and yeah, I really want that effect. So, except for the stupid brake line, but anyway, that's another story. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that a bit more with the welder. So with that being the case, and looking along here, the rust along this section here on either side, there is more to it, and the trouble is as well, at the very front here on the corners, there's giant, well I say giant, it's a small area, but it's large enough holes that that'll need to be cut out, and then of course have a bit of metal welded in there. So before I can actually get to this, there is still a bit more work on this tunnel I need to do, which I'm really not happy about. I really wanted to get to this point, but I don't want to rush it. I do want to at least do it as right as I can with the lack of skill, but just in terms of slapping floor pans on when I know I've got stuff like this smacking me in the face basically, it needs to be sorted. So more work to be done basically. I'm also going to chop these stupid little screw pieces off because I'm not having the heater control flaps there. I do have something in plan for that in the future. One other thing I will be doing, because it's still dripping on the floor right now as we speak, it needs to be further over, I have to rotate that around, is the last bolts on that CV shaft. I'm just going to cut it off. I'm just going to angle grind it off, just so it can be moved. It's just a nightmare having that thing there, so that can go. So there is a bit more to be done. I've kind of run out of time this week, and to be honest, as a filler, this is pretty decent in my opinion. So yeah, that's going to do it again today, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, like, subscribe, comment below, etc. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbor that, well, if you've got something in mind, just go for it, because if you deviate from it, you're not going to be satisfied later. So anyway, guys, until next time, cheers.